Welcome everybody. I'm going to do a quick video tutorial that just recaps what I covered in class. That way you can refer to it when you're working on your posters at the library. So you're going to begin by having all of your images together. You've probably put them in a file, maybe you've saved them to the desktop. They're easily accessible for you. And the first thing you need to do is open up those images in Photoshop. So select your images, you can drag and drop them into Photoshop, or you can open up Photoshop and then open up the images that way. Totally up to you. So here are my images. I have 3 different images that I'm working with, and you're only required to make 2 posters. I'm going to do a demo making 1 poster, but you can see that these images are really different, right? So even though the lyric is going to be the same, the narrative or the read that the viewer has is going to be different because the images are so different. So every image will bring kind of a different sort of element to that lyric. Okay, so the lyric I'm using is going to be "Passed Behind Me Like a Ponytail," one of Drake's classics. I'm going to start by creating basically the canvas or the template for this poster. So I come up to File and then select New. So I'm creating a new Photoshop document and I'm going to name it Drake Poster and then put your name in it. It can be something other than Drake Poster, that's not really important. And then for the size, we're going to go 11 by 17 inches or 17 by 11 inches. So it's really going to depend on whether you're going to do these posters landscape or portrait orientation. So I'm going to go in this instance with portrait orientation. You're going to go with 300 pixels per inch. That's going to give us a decent print quality. And then you're going to change the color mode to CMYK. So remember that RGB is for looking at images on the computer, and CMYK is for print. So then I'm going to bump this up to 16-bit. And you can do a color for your background. You could do transparent. On your screen, the transparent is going to look like that checkerboard, but you don't have to worry. It won't show up when you print it. I'm just going to stick with white. That looks good. And then here we go. So there's our blank canvas. So now I'm going to start with a lyric, the layer for the lyric. So I'm going to come up to layer. And let me just say that everything that I know about Photoshop primarily is self-taught. So if you have Photoshop experience, you should by all means, please, please, please do what works for you and don't follow my clunky process. There are much more elegant ways. But okay, so for the text layer, I'm going to name a text, very creative, I realize. And let's see, I'm going to draw a text box and type in the text. Oops. Now you can play around with how you set up the text. Obviously play around with different fonts, right? So serif, sans serif. You know that some fonts have almost a narrative read to them or like a tone to them, and that could absolutely have an impact on the way that the piece reads. So play around. I would just stay away from things like curls and things like Dakota handwriting, really those really just bad ones. I'm going to stick with Helvetica Neue. I know it's really boring, but I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to start out with a black font just so that I can kind of have a clear picture of how it's reading. So I'm going to select all, and then I'm going to come up here to the color picker, and I'm just going to start with black and hit OK. Okay, so there we have it. So now I can play around with the size. I can make it huge, in which case I need to increase the size of this text box, right? But I think instead I'm gonna, let's see what 100 looks like. That looks great for now. Okay, You can leave the text box large. It doesn't really matter that much at this point. So then I'm going to go to the move tool. That way I can move this all around. Just start with it right about here. Those little pinky purple fuchsia lines that pop up are very helpful when it comes to aligning things. Okay, so now we're going to do the layer with the image. And actually, you could do it in any order. You could absolutely start with your image layer, right, with the picture. So either way, totally fine. I'm going to call it image. You know, it's revolutionary. All right, and now I'm going to pick a photo that I'm going to work with. So I select the photo that I want. I'm going to hit Command A, which is select all, and then I'm going to hit Command C to copy, and then I'm going to come back over to my document, and on the layer that I want, image, I'm going to hit Command V to paste it. So you can see it's really small, right? So now I need to size it. So in order to do that, I'm going to free transform. So I'm going to hit Command T, and then holding the Shift key down, I'm going to drag the edges of the box out until that really fills the picture plane. It looks crazy pixelated now, but once I hit return or enter, that should resolve itself. So there we have that image. So now with the move tool, I can move it this way and that, decide where I want that image. You know, do I want to focus on her face? Do I want to focus on the ponytail? Obviously this image is super literal with the lyric, but that's okay for one of them. Yeah, and then the other one would be you know, a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to eventually make 3. Again, you guys are only making 2. So I'm going to place it there for now. And now in order to see the text on top of that, I need to change the hierarchy of the order. So if you see, I pulled that text up so that it's on top of the image. And now I have the move tool on, I have the text selected. I can start to move this around and see what I want to do with it. I can change the size, I can change the color, you name it. Keep in mind, not all of the words need to be the same color or even the same size or even the same font. So there are so many things for you to play around with. And you might want to think about saving multiple versions of a poster, or making multiple text layers where you're playing around with different things, and then you have all these things to choose from. You just use the text layer that you like the best. So let's say I'm happy with this at this point. Oh, another thing, forgot, sorry, backtrack. Opacity. Opacity can be a nice way for you to make the text a little bit more apparent. So selecting the image, I can come up here. Here's my opacity. So I can turn down the opacity so it's more transparent. It's going to lighten that up because my background is white. And so now that font or that text stands out a little bit more. Okay, so play around with it, have a lot of fun, try a lot of things. When you're satisfied with it, you're going to make sure that you save it. So Command S to save. Make sure you remember where you save it. And you're going to save it as a Photoshop document and as either a JPEG or a PNG. The Photoshop document you want to save so that you have that working document that you can go back and sort of tweak and change later. But what you're going to turn in is either a JPEG. Yeah, let's just do a JPEG. Totally fine. A lot of people don't like the compression that comes with a JPEG, and that is true, but for our purposes, for this little challenge, it's perfectly fine. So you're going to save it as a JPEG, and then hit save. And make sure that the maximum quality is what you've got, and hit OK. Great. So I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Really excited. Have fun. Bye.